I'm going to just read a small verse from Bhagavad Gita, and then we will do our discussion. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So something I have been thinking recently, so that's what I'm going to share. May come out well or speculative. Let's see how much devotees, how we will interact, and see how this goes. So I picked a verse from chapter 9, verse number 3. Asraddhadhana purusa dharmasya parantapa aprapyamam nivartante mrityu samsara vartmani. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. So it's about the faith, and faith is a very important element, right, in our practice. What I'm going to touch base today is the purport. Following this verse, Prabhupada starts the paragraph saying something in the line that we need faith to practice devotional service. And after explaining that in a couple of paragraphs, then he starts another paragraph where he says, faith is developed as we practice devotional service. So this seemingly contradictory statement, what comes first? All those traditional question, right? Chicken or egg first. So what comes first? Does faith precedes devotional service, or as we practice devotional service, faith develops? So this seemingly contradictory, what comes first, is possible only in a cyclic system. When things are rotating, then it really doesn't matter what comes first, what comes second. So you cannot even figure it out, right? What is first, what is second? Only in the linear system, here's the beginning, here's the end. So pertaining to our japa, if we consider japa as a practice that we do, every 2 hours in the day, in the morning hours of the day, if we set japa as such, then it becomes a linear process, meaning there's a beginning of my japa, there's an end to my japa. And that's a very material perspective. So japa is a cyclic process, and that's why it really doesn't matter when we started, when we ended, because it keeps going on, just like Prabhupada's japa you played this morning, right? I don't think Prabhupada was chanting for 2 hours in that. We just kept playing it in a loop, and it really doesn't matter which one is original, which one is the loop. It's the same Hare Krishna, and for devotee, it really doesn't matter. Krishna came first, Ram came first, right? But there are some people who complain to ISKCON devotees that why Krishna first, right? Isn't it Ram who came first? But as a devotee, it really doesn't matter, because as you play Hare Krishna Mahamantra in a loop, it really doesn't matter. Krishna came first or Ram came first. So much so that there is a wonderful story of how do you even pronounce the name, right? Mara, Mara, Mara. And when you play Mara in a loop, it becomes Ram. So today we're going to talk about these cyclic processes, because that's the downside of the material world, where everything runs in a linear progression. As long as there is a slope, there's a gain in the movement, you call it a progress, but it's linear. There is a beginning, there is an end. But in nature, everything runs in cycle, right? And in the material world, it's so hard. At least in the sanitation business, we know, right? If you can manage to recycle things, that's a great, great feat. So recycling, it's a very hard process in the material world. Everything runs very linear, and that's a big illusion, because in such a system, everything has to come to an end. So japa, how does japa works then in a cycle? So somewhere else, Prabhupada then talks about how our cycle involves faith. It's not like faith comes before devotion or devotion comes faith. That's not the question at all. So our cycle is comprised of 3 factors: faith, dedication, and practice. And a very materialistic but yet very relevant example illustration would be money, the economics of the modern day. We all have so much faith in the buying power of the money that we very dedicatedly involved in the process of this modern economy, how to make more wealth, how to generate more wealth. And as you generate wealth, you see, yes, there is such a buying power of this money. So faith gets even stronger. We get even more involved, more dedicated in this modern economics structure. So that's how the loop works, right? A little bit faith that we gain from what we hear, what we see, and then a little bit dedication to practice that system. And as you are remunerated, you realize, oh yes, this works. The faith got a little stronger. More faith, more dedication, better and efficient practice. So that's how the loop runs, and our chanting process becomes perpetual. It's not that it starts at 5 a.m. and ends at 7 a.m. It keeps running, although we are not literally chanting after 7 a.m., let's say when we are in the office, at the workplace, but it's running at the back burner, how I'm gonna motivate myself tomorrow to wake up on time, how I'm gonna chant tomorrow with more enthusiasm, what else can I do besides my japa so that I stay motivated in Krishna consciousness. So it perpetually runs in our mind. So japa never ends, it runs in a cycle. So I'm gonna a little bit talk a couple of other cycles Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita. The first and foremost is samsara, right? Samsara chakra. It's a death and birth. One who dies has to take birth. One who takes birth has to die again. So it's never ending, pretty much never ending cycle that's we are trapped in. And many years ago, when I first read Bhagavad Gita, that's the portion really amazed me in my first Bhagavad Gita reading, where Krishna so elaborately explains how this cycle works. If you recall in the chapter 2, Krishna explains, which seems linear, but actually it's a cycle. Dhyayato visayan pumsan, sangat teshu pajayate, sangat sanjayate kama, krama, ruda abhijayate. Krishna says, Dhyayato visayan pumsan. As you fixate your mind upon Vishaya, the sense object, sangat teshu pajayate, sangat, the attachment grows. And as attachment grows, sangat teshu pajayate, sangat sanjayate, kama. Are you guys there? Oh, I thought, okay. Sangat sanjayate kama, kama krodha vijayate. So with that, attachment grows a desire to enjoy. And what happens with the desire? There is only 2 pathways after the desire. Either you fulfill your desire and you grow greedier, or desires are left unfulfilled and then you become angry. Krodhat avijayate. Krodhat bhavati sammoha, samhot smriti brahmasa, smriti brahmsat buddhinasho, buddhinasho pranashyate. And once you get angry, then some krodhat bhavati sammoha, then you get bewildered, right? And in the bewilderment, your memory, all the good stuff you have learned, you forget about that. Smritit brahmsat buddhinaso. As you lose your good memories, your intelligence is destroyed. Once your intelligence is gone, buddhinasat pranashyati, you fall down. And then the cycle begins, right? You start another life. So this is how the samsara chakra works. And Prahlad Maharaj says, better you stop it, the easier it gets. As you get more engrossed into this system, as you can stop yourself during the contemplation upon the Vishaya, it's easier. But once you get attached, it gets harder. Once you start trying to enjoy it, even gets even more harder. And once you are in the mode of greediness or anger, that's even gets harder. So there are several steps, seemingly linear, but it's running in a cycle, and that's how samsara works. But besides this samsara chakra, which is negative chakra, right? That's the chakra that we want to break away from. But there is a wonderful, another positive chakra Krishna mentions in chapter 3, when Krishna explains, right? You have to offer your karma phala. If you eat without offering, it's a sin. So that's where Krishna mentions Yagya chakra. Yagya chakra is explained as the following. So Krishna provides the Vedas to the humanity. From the Vedas, we learn what is regulated, what is prescribed duties according to our varna and ashramas. And as you perform your prescribed duties, demigods, who are supervisors of all the material elements, they cooperate with us, meaning they provide all the necessity for our sustenance, including the rain. And as it rains, we can cultivate the land, grain grows. And wait a minute, if we eat that grain, what happens? The system becomes linear, right? Everything started from Krishna, Veda, demigods, rain, grain, and we ate it in the middle. So it ends there. So it becomes a line segment. And that's where we are the culprit. We didn't acknowledge who is the ultimate source from where everything is being provided. But as we learn, understand, and we offer that grain back to the Supreme Lord, then we close the loop. And that's how we participate in that Yoga Chakra and benefit from taking the same grain, which otherwise would have been a sinful, becomes a prasadam and enlightens us. So that's the Yoga Chakra that we want to be a part of. And now bring that Yoga Chakra, apply that principle. In principle, right, it's the same thing applied to every aspects of our life, whatever we do, including the japa. So as we took birth in this earth, it's kind of, we are given some time. Prabhupada says we are doing time in a prison, actually, right? And in the United States, prisons are also called correctional facility. So it's very appropriate name, correctional facility. So we are doing our time in this correctional facility, but instead of getting angry, annoyed, right, depressed, rather, even within this correctional facility, we can understand that this is an opportunity to rectify our consciousness. And as we understand the value of our time in this earth, then we do the Yagya Chakra. We reciprocate by giving back some time to Krishna via chanting. And as the more we understand the value of the time in this earth, the greater the quality, in terms of quality, the intensity with which we will chanting will also increase. If I understand that 24 hours I got in a day is so precious, then when I chant for 2 hours a day, I will also give a very, very high quality attention to Krishna. And when we say quality time, right, how do you give quality time to your family, to your children? That means no distractions. You put down your phone, you really listen to your children, to your relatives, participate in their conversation, show the consideration and empathy. So that's a quality time. Quality time cannot be, as you're doing something else, you listen to your children's, stories from the school. So same way with Krishna, we value our time. That's why when we sit down to do our japa, we really give a quality time to Krishna. We chant very, very attentively. And that's how we participate in Yagya Chakra, even during our japa. We got wonderful day. Every day we get a wonderful day. We value it so much. that we are happy to share it with Krishna, and we do Japa in a high quality to show our gratitude to the Lord. So that's the wonderful chakra we want to be part of. So circling back to our original topic, faith, dedication, and practice, that's the cycle. Faith followed by dedicated practice. And just by merely bringing this understanding, imbibing this understanding that everything in nature runs in a cyclic fashion itself will prevent us from getting into the animalistic propensities of exploitations. We exploit only because we think there's a beginning, there's an end. If we were aware that no, nothing ends like that, everything runs in a cycle. Whatever bad we do, it's boomerangs eventually. Whatever we do good, nobody has to notice that. Nature itself will pay you back. Everything runs in a cycle. Just by understanding that cyclic natural cycle nature of the things that happen in the life, we become human. And on top of that, if we can instill the value of developing faith by listening to devotees, by reading scriptures, and more importantly, contemplating upon what we heard and read, that will give us enough faith that we dedicate ourselves in this process of japa. So my intention was really to keep this short. I think we still have good 10, 12 minutes. I would say I would like to actually hear comments or questions and further discuss the cyclic nature of japa and everything else in our life.
Thank you so much. If anybody has a question or a comment, it was so interesting. I definitely have some comments and questions, but I'll wait for others if they have any. Okay, so I think the person, Shanmukha Prabhuji, yes.
Yeah, I have one question, Prabhuji. I think this japa is also cyclic because thank you for summarizing the not linear nature of the material world, and it's cyclic. Most of the things are cyclic, which we don't observe commonly. So even the japa is also cyclic, because what I felt was we do more reading of the scripture, Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, more hearing of Bhagavatam, and then doing the chanting within heart. And next day our chanting is getting better. So if we don't do that one day, the next day chanting quality drops down drastically. So it is perfectly cyclic. And with reference to that, there is a verse in 2.66, Nasti Buddhirayuktasya. Can you explain that in the cyclic way, Prabhuji? I just wanted to understand.
Yeah.
There is a verse, Nasti
Buddhirayuktasya,
Nacha Yuktasya Bhavana, Nacha Bhavayatasyanti, Asantasya Katasukam.
Yeah, very nice, right?
It is contrast to, I personally feel it is not in cyclic, but it is contrast to 2.62. So can you write? Okay,
oh, you got that verse right away, right? It's 2.62, the one I was referring to. Great.
Yes.
So can we go back to that verse? It's like it's about how you attain the peace, right?
Yes. I felt that is also cyclic, Prabhu.
Can you just translate that verse as you?
Yeah, I will translate as it is in the Bhagavad Gita.
And meanwhile, I can tell you that since it's a cyclic, and when we try to self-critique and try to find out where I'm going wrong, If it is a linear, then, you know, in the production line, something goes wrong, then you have to really find the culprit, right? Where things went wrong, that the end product came out wrong. But in the cyclic process, it doesn't matter. It can be faith, it can be dedication, it can be practice. And the solution can be also instill more faith, listen to more lectures, or it can be cultivate more dedication, or just enhance your practice. So in a cyclic process, you can just jump into any segment and enhance your process, unlike linear system where you have to really pinpoint where the fault was in order to make the modifications. Yes, Prabhu, can you read in English?
Yeah, so the verse is 2.66. Here, Krishna explains about what is the benefit of engaging in Buddhi Yoga and what will be the ultimate outcome. So the meaning is one who is not connected with Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without a peace? Without peace.
Right. Or you can restate it in a positive manner. If you engage yourself in devotional service, if you engage in a devotional service, you are connected to the Supreme Lord in devotion, right? That way you will have your intelligence awakened and steady mind. And because of that, your mind is peaceful and you are happy. And you'll go back and do your devotional service and get more happy, get more enlightened. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. I felt this verse is exactly contrast to 2.62, where we just keep contemplating and then fall down.
Right.
Here it is exactly the opposite.
Yes,
and
perfect.
this is also cyclic.
Yes, perfect. So the 6.2 Dayatobhisen Pumsan, it explained the samsara chakra, how you fall into that samsara. And then this verse explains how you stay engaged perpetually in enlightening and happy process of devotional service, right? Thank you. That's a good point. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Okay, I just, okay, somebody.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Sri Gaudha. So Prabhuji, just want to thank you for your time. Really appreciate. We are here in Rameshram with Guru Maharaj. We'll pray for you.
Thank you.
Madhumati Mataji, you have some questions, right?
I just had a comment. I like this cyclical presentation so much. I think it throws a lot of light to the purport of the verse that you just discussed. Yes, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining about the levels of faith. And when you explain the cycle through faith, dedication, practice, it seems like we don't have to get stuck at one level, be it Kanishta or Madhyama, right? So it's just that when the cycle is reinforced, then one can be so hopeful to keep progressing. So thank you very much.
Right, as the cycles get it's oiled properly, it runs better, efficiently. So our journey to then Krishna gets more smoother, more enlightening, more happier. But in the beginning, we get onto some systems where we get stuck. But the cycle really provides such a nice, wonderful options. You know, you really don't have to say, "Oh, my faith is so weak, that's why I'm not doing it well." It doesn't matter, Prabhuji. Just go and do your chanting a little longer, right? Go and do Ekadasi, get a little bit more determined, and so it's not really, you know, I'm weak on this or that. It just whatever is available to you on that particular day. Maybe it's a holiday, so just do more chanting. It's not holiday, so go through some austerity and just get a little more determined. Oh, some devotees are with Maharaj, so just listen to Maharaj more attentively. So it's like anywhere you put up effort, your cycle will run better. So Yeah, thank you. Nice comment.
Anybody else has?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I don't know, it's just for me or your voice was breaking.
No, I was just saying maybe Shubhalas Prabhuji wants to say something. He can see you on the screen.
Hare Krishna, Balmukunda Prabhu, Dandat Pranam.
Hare
Seeing you after a
Krishna.
long time. At
Yes.
least last we met in Moscow, Guru Maharaj Vyas Puja. After that, we had no opportunity to see you. Thank you very much for your time. His Grace
Yeah.
Balmukunda Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji.
Good to see you all. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.